Ever sat in a quiet room and thought to yourself, how did we get here? You raised them. You fed them when you were hungry yourself. Stayed up late when they were sick. Skipped your own dreams so they could chase theirs. You were their anchor, their safety net, their constant. But now? You call, and they don't pick up. You give advice, and they roll their eyes. You try to speak, and somehow, it's like your words no longer carry weight. They say things like, you wouldn't understand, or worse. They just nod and move on like your presence doesn't matter. Like your wisdom is a relic. Like you are a relic. And you sit there wondering, is this what it comes to? After everything? Let me tell you something you might need to hear today, you're not imagining it. And no, you're not alone. This feeling, this quiet ache that shows up when your own children seem to look right through you, it's more common than you think. But that doesn't mean it's how the story ends. Because respect, it isn't something that disappears forever. Sometimes, it just gets buried. Buried under years of routine, misunderstandings, shifting roles, and unspoken feelings. And today, we're going to uncover it again, together. You don't need to shout. You don't need to beg. And you definitely don't need to shrink yourself down to keep the peace. Today, I'll walk you through 6 powerful, grounded, and surprisingly simple ways to regain the respect you deserve. The kind of respect that comes not from fear, but from deep-rooted love and admiration. And listen, number 5. That's the one most parents avoid because it feels uncomfortable at first. But the moment you try it, something shifts. You'll see it in their eyes. Hear it in their voice. Feel it in the way they show up again. So stick with me. Let's talk honestly. Let's get real about what it feels like to be overlooked, and what you can actually do to turn that around. And before we dive in, can I ask you something? Have you ever felt pushed aside by your own children? Not out of cruelty, just out of thoughtlessness, or distance, or distraction. If that resonates with you, even just a little, leave a heart in the comments. I read every one. Because here on Elder Talks Daily, we don't just talk about aging, we protect the dignity of every aging voice. Including yours. Now let's begin. Are you ready? Because the first strategy might surprise you. Let's start with something simple, but powerful, boundaries. Now I know, that word can sound cold. Harsh, even. Especially when you're a parent or a grandparent, and all you've ever known is giving. Giving your time, your energy, your heart, without hesitation. But here's a story that might sound familiar. Mrs. Thompson. She's 72. Sweet as can be. The kind of woman who never says no. Her daughter would drop off the grandkids in the morning before work, saying, "Mom, it's just for a few hours." Then evening would roll around, and she's still watching them, exhausted, aching, running on empty. But she smiled through it. Every time. Until one day, her body just couldn't take it anymore. She collapsed in her kitchen while fixing snacks for the kids. Dehydrated. Worn out. And do you know what she said in the hospital? "I didn't want to let them down." Let them down? She gave them everything. But here's the thing, saying yes all the time doesn't make you more loving. Sometimes, it makes you invisible. Because when you always say yes, people forget you can say no. See, as we grow older, many of us start saying yes, not because we want to, but because we're scared. Scared of losing connection. Scared of becoming a burden. Scared of being forgotten. But the truth is, boundaries don't ruin relationships. They protect them. When you draw a healthy line, when you say, "I love you, but I need rest today," you're not pushing people away. You're teaching them how to honor your limits. And that's what real respect looks like. Here's the biggest misunderstanding I see, people think love means sacrificing endlessly. But that's not love, that's depletion. Respect isn't built on silence. It's built on clarity. On mutual understanding. So, what can you do? Start small. Try saying this: I care deeply about you, but I'm not available right now. That's it. No long excuses. No guilt-tripping yourself. Just truth. Calm and clear. When you begin to honor your own time, your own energy, others start to notice. They may not like it at first. Some might push back. But slowly, they adjust. They learn that your yes has value, and that your no deserves space. And once you've drawn that line, it opens up something else, your voice. Because boundaries are just the first step. The next? It's how you communicate. Because if you've been swallowing your thoughts for years, it's time to learn how to speak, and be heard. Let's talk about your voice, not just the sound of it, but the strength behind it. Because once you've set a boundary, the next piece is just as vital, learning to speak in a way that commands respect, without raising your voice. You know, Mr. Rodriguez was a quiet man. Always calm, always polite. But over the years, his children stopped listening. They'd cut him off mid-sentence, change the subject, even correct him like he was a child. And every time, he'd just swallow it. Smile. Let it go. But one day, it built up. His son came over and made a joke at his expense, something about how Dad's stuck in the past. Mr. Rodriguez snapped. He yelled. Something he never did. His son left the house that night, and didn't call for weeks. Here's what happened: Mr. Rodriguez had never been heard, only tolerated. He wasn't assertive, he was silent. And when silence builds up too long, it eventually explodes. You see, assertive communication isn't loud. It's not aggressive. It doesn't demand. It declares. Calmly. Firmly. With dignity. It sounds like this: when you interrupt me, it makes me feel like my words don't matter. I'd appreciate it if you'd let me finish. Or, I hear what you're saying. I just need you to hear me, too. There's a balance there. You're not attacking. You're not begging. You're simply standing in your truth, and staying there. Here's the misconception: people think being passive keeps the peace. But what it actually does? It chips away at your sense of self. And when you finally erupt, that's when people say, "Why are you being so sensitive?" But had they listened all along, you wouldn't need to raise your voice now. Assertiveness isn't about conflict. It's about clarity. It's how you say, "I matter. My needs matter. My voice deserves space." And guess what? When you start speaking like that, something shifts in the room. They sit up straighter. They listen longer. They think twice before brushing you off. And once you reclaim that voice, the next step becomes easier. Because sometimes, the reason people lose respect isn't just because you stopped speaking up. It's because you kept overgiving, even when it hurt. And that's what we'll explore next. Why giving too much, especially when it's not returned, can be the very thing that makes others take you for granted. Let's go there. Let's be honest. You've given your whole life. You gave when you were tired. You gave when you were broke. You gave when no one was even saying thank you anymore. And somewhere along the way, giving became the only way you knew how to love. But here's the hard truth: overgiving, without boundaries, can actually lead to being overlooked. Let me tell you about Barbara. She's 69. Retired. She spent most of her time helping her adult kids, running errands, loaning money, offering advice, fixing things around the house. They'd say, "Thanks, Mom," and be out the door before she could even finish her tea. One day, Barbara sat at her kitchen table and realized something chilling. If I stopped helping, would they even come around anymore? That question haunted her. Because here's what we rarely talk about: when you constantly give without being refilled, people don't just stop appreciating it, they start expecting it. And when something is expected, it's no longer seen as valuable. It becomes background noise. Invisible. There's a misconception out there, especially for parents and grandparents. That love means saying yes until you've got nothing left. But the truth is, overgiving teaches people that your needs come last. And over time, they'll believe it, because you've shown them that's the deal. So how do you change that? You stop giving from emptiness. And you start giving from choice. You start valuing yourself first. Instead of bending over backwards to help with something you can't afford, say, I'd love to help, but I need to take care of a few things for myself this week. Instead of saying yes out of fear, say yes when it feels good to say it. That small change, it flips the entire dynamic. Because now, they see that you have a life. That your time matters. That you're not just a backup plan, they need to earn your attention again. You're not a doormat. You're a doorway, to wisdom, experience, and love. But that door only opens when it's treated with care. And once you stop overgiving, something else happens too. You start to see yourself again. You start to care about how you move through the world. Which brings us to the next piece of this puzzle, your dignity, your appearance, your space. Let's talk about how simply showing up differently can shift how they see you. Because respect isn't just heard, it's seen. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, who is that? Not in a vain way, but in a quiet, reflective way. You catch your own eyes, and it hits you, you've been fading into the background. And not just emotionally. Visually too. Because somewhere along the line, you stopped putting on the nicer clothes. You started letting your home stay just a little messy. You told yourself, why bother? Who's even looking? But here's the truth, and it might sting a little, people often treat you based on how you present yourself. It's not fair. But it's real. Let's talk about James. He's 75. Used to wear a button-down shirt and polished shoes every single day, just to run errands. That was his thing. Clean-shaven. Smelled like cedarwood and mint. People used to stop and compliment him, say, "You've got style, sir." But after his wife passed, everything changed. He stopped shaving. Started wearing the same old sweatshirt. The kind with coffee stains and worn-out elbows. He said, "What's the point?" And the heartbreaking part? His kids started treating him differently. Talking at him instead of to him. They'd make decisions without asking his opinion. Like he was already halfway gone. But then one Sunday morning, something snapped in James. He got up early. Took a long shower. Trimmed his beard. Ironed a crisp shirt. Put on his late wife's favorite cologne. And when his kids came over later that afternoon, their jaws dropped. They sat up straighter. They asked how he was doing, really doing. They listened when he spoke. All because his presence said, "I am still here. I matter." Listen, dignity isn't about vanity. It's about visibility. When you carry yourself with self-respect, others mirror that energy. Same goes for your space. That pile of unopened mail on the counter? The dusty table? The overstuffed hallway closet? It all sends a quiet message, even if no one says it out loud. So today, do one thing, put on the outfit that makes you feel strong. Clear off that table. Light a candle. Open the blinds. Let your space, your style, your surroundings, reflect your worth. Because when you start showing up like you matter, people start treating you like you do. And from here, we take it even further. Because the next step isn't about how they see you. It's about how you see your own life. Sometimes, the most powerful way to regain respect is to stop chasing theirs. And start building a life outside of them. Let's explore that next. Here's something we don't say enough. You are allowed to have a life that doesn't revolve around your children. Let that sink in for a moment. Because for decades, they were your everything. You scheduled your life around them. Sacrificed jobs, sleep, time, money, sometimes even your identity. And that kind of love? It's rare. It's sacred. But it can also become suffocating. See, when your entire purpose is wrapped around being needed, it's easy to lose yourself the moment they stop needing you the same way. But here's the beautiful twist, you get to reclaim your purpose. Not through them, but through you. Your hobbies. Your friends. Your passions. Your laughter. Let me tell you about Lillian. She was 70 when she joined a senior walking group. Not because she was lonely, but because she missed conversation. Real conversation, not just small talk in passing or rushed birthday calls. Every Tuesday and Thursday, she laced up her sneakers, showed up at the park, and walked with people who saw her. Who asked her about her favorite books. Her thoughts on the world. Her dreams. Within weeks, her posture changed. Her smile was different, wider. More sure. And something fascinating happened. Her children started noticing. They began calling more. Visiting. Asking, "What have you been up to, Mom?" Because now, she wasn't just always available. She had a life. A full, rich, evolving life that didn't depend on their attention. And when they saw that, they saw her differently. Here's the truth, people tend to value what feels independent, what feels alive. When your world expands, theirs gravitates back toward you. Join a class. Volunteer. Plant a garden. Start journaling. Host a tea morning. Get back to the things you used to love, or the ones you never got to try. You are not just a parent. You're still a whole person. And when you begin living like one again, respect comes. Not because you demand it, but because you no longer need it to feel whole. And now we arrive at something even deeper. Maybe the most powerful shift of all. Because the truth is, some children won't change. They'll stay distant. Or distracted. Or careless with their words. And that's when you have to make the hardest move of all. Letting go of the need to be needed. And we'll talk about that, right now. Now, take a deep breath with me. Because this part, it's tender. It's not easy to hear. But it just might set your heart free. Let's talk about what it means to let go of the need to be needed. I know. For most of your life, being needed was your identity. You were the one who made the meals, held the hands, fixed the problems, stayed up late, made sacrifices nobody ever even noticed. And now, the phone doesn't ring as much. You offer help, and they brush it off. You give advice, and they say, "Things are different now." You show up, but they don't really see you anymore. And deep down, there's this aching thought, if they don't need me, what's left of me? Let me introduce you to Mr. Harold. He's 78. His kids were busy with their own lives. They rarely visited unless something was broken. No dinners. No check-ins. Just the occasional, "Hey Dad, can you send me that thing?" At first, Harold kept trying. Sending texts. Offering help. Dropping off little gifts. And then one day, he stopped. But not out of bitterness. He just paused. Looked around. And said, "I've spent my whole life waiting to be needed. But maybe, it's time I start simply being." So he started taking morning walks by himself. Listening to music he hadn't heard in decades. He found an old sketchpad and began drawing again, something he hadn't done since he was 17. He stopped checking his phone every hour. He stopped trying to force a connection that wasn't ready. And in that stillness, he found peace. Here's the thing nobody tells you, being needed and being loved are not the same. They might need you, and still not respect you. But when you love yourself enough to stop chasing that need, you become free. You stop tying your value to their responses. You stop measuring your worth by their appreciation. And you start living, for you. It's not about giving up on your children. It's about giving back to yourself. Letting go doesn't mean closing the door. It means opening your own. To healing. To joy. To wholeness. And here's the most powerful part, when you stop trying to be needed, something incredible happens. People begin to see you again. Not as the fixer. Not as the babysitter. Not as the emotional crutch. But as a person. A strong, wise, dignified soul, with a full life. You didn't lose their respect. You just forgot how to demand it, by how you carry yourself. And now, you remember. So take that first deep breath again. Feel your chest rise. That's you. That's your power. Still here. Still worthy. Still whole. Let's pull it all together. I want to leave you with something warm, something clear, and something you can act on, right now. Let's close this journey together. Because if you've made it this far, if you've sat with the weight of every word, every story, every truth, then you know this isn't just a video. It's a mirror. A gentle, powerful reminder that your story isn't over just because your children treat you like a footnote. You are not invisible. You are not disposable. You are not here to quietly fade into the background of their busy lives. You are still a voice worth hearing. A presence worth honoring. A human being, not a title. So let's recap the path forward. First, set clear boundaries. Not to push them away, but to teach them how to respect your time and energy. Then, speak with assertiveness. Let your words carry the quiet power of truth. You don't need to shout to be heard, you just need to stop whispering your needs. Next, stop overgiving. Giving should be a choice, not a currency you trade for closeness. Start giving to yourself first. Then, show up with dignity. Not for anyone else, but for you. Let your presence, your space, your voice reflect your worth. Fifth, rebuild your world. Create a life so rich and full that whether they notice or not, you still wake up with purpose and peace. And finally, let go of the need to be needed. Because once you do that, you stop shrinking. You stop chasing. You stop wondering, what more can I do? And instead, you begin asking, what do I deserve? Now, here's what I want you to do next. Look around your space. Look at your phone. Look at your calendar. And ask yourself, where can I make room for me again? Maybe it's joining a community group. Maybe it's journaling every morning. Maybe it's finally saying no to something that's been draining you. Whatever it is, start small, but start today. Because you're not just someone's mother. Or someone's father. Or someone's grandparent. You are still you. A soul with stories. A mind with wisdom. A heart that still beats with meaning. And here on Elder Talks Daily, you'll always have a place where your voice is honored, where your struggles are heard, and where your growth is still possible, no matter what age the world tries to assign to your worth. If any part of this touched you today, leave a comment below. Share your story. Share your strength. Even if it's just a heart emoji to say, that's me. I read every one. And so do others who feel just like you. And if you want to keep walking this journey with us, learning how to navigate aging with dignity, clarity, and confidence, subscribe to Elder Talks Daily. We're not just a channel, we're a community. A safe, honest, empowering space where aging is not a decline, it's a rise into wisdom. So until next time. Stand tall. Speak gently. Love fiercely, starting with yourself. I'll see you in the next one. And I hope by then, you're already walking with your head held a little higher.